So I'm here with Oregon Women's Business Center and Education Manager with Mercy Corps, Bobbie Stewart. Bobbie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good, Bruce. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for talking with me. We're, exploring both the past and the future of Lloyd Center Mall. And just to, get our dates together, when was Mercy Corps a tenant in Lloyd Center?
Mercy Corps wasn't a tenant in Lloyd Center. I had a personal business, a retail store in Lloyd Center.
Okay, yeah. Well, what was that business? I'm sorry for the confusion.
That's okay. Part of 2018 and 2019, I was at the Lloyd Center Mall, and it was like around the holidays. We started a little bit earlier that year, and then went through the holiday season at the Lloyd Center. And it was Palette at Lloyd was the name of the retail store. It was a retail store of BIPOC makers. So every business in there was a person of color. So the products were just all by people of color.
Yeah, actually, I remember going by that. I got a jersey. Unfortunately, pandemic hit me, and I just say I grew out of it very quickly. But just in general, what does Lloyd Center mean to you?
Well, like for me, I have really early memories of the Lloyd Center because my grandmother had a house a mile from the mall, and that's the house I'm in right now. And we would walk to the mall when I was a little kid, and she would go buy a dress or things like that. And so I had some really great memories of when it was an outdoor mall before it was closed in, and just the beautiful walk down there. And it was really exciting to actually have a business inside the Lloyd Center as an adult. I had great memories from being a kid.
Yeah, and can you just talk a little bit more about that experience as a tenant?
The opportunity to open the store was just huge. And I came in when a lot of local stores came in, because first I did the pop-up for My People's Market. That's what started, and it was literally like we had just a few months to get the store together. And if it wasn't for the vendors coming together and helping with that store, setting it up and bringing their products in, it wouldn't have happened. But I had a volunteer team of 5 people that pitched in with marketing, helping run the store, helping with displays, you name it. They did everything. And then once that store closed after the pop-up, a lot of the stores left the mall. So the mall started emptying out again. And because we were so far at one end, I was asked if I wanted to stay, and I'm like, I have to bring in my own brand because I don't own My People's Market as a brand. I own Palette as a brand, and I wanted a better, more central location. So I ended up moving down the mall and opening my own store at the Lloyd Center. And I would say at first it was all right. Through the holiday season, it was okay, but the mall it was a time where once the stores left, the mall got really, really slow because most of the attraction was gone. And it was tough to survive after that. I had a couple employees that worked in my store, actually 3 employees. Vendors would come by all the time. We would, do tastings, all kinds of things. The displays were absolutely beautiful. The products were amazing. There just wasn't enough foot traffic to actually, have a really good lucrative business. And people would come from sometimes other states just to find product made by certain vendors. So it was a really good concept, I would say.
One of the pieces of feedback I've kind of heard from a lot of people is, especially how that like community aspect is so important. Can you just talk a little bit more about that as far as community built around Palette while it was there?
Well, the community, like most of the vendors actually knew each other because they've worked the My People's Market together. People, when they came in, they would hang out and we would, enjoy their time. People would bring their kids in to restock. That was probably like one of my favorite parts, was just seeing vendors and customers would be in the store. And I'm like, oh, would you like to meet the maker? They just happen to be here. They would think it's just amazing. And then we would do gift giveaways, do like a little trivia thing. And we made sure that when people came in, their customer service experience was just as wonderful as possible, because they're supporting, local businesses. And a lot of people overlook that fact. They don't, because products are going to be a little bit more expensive, but the quality was just so much better. So you had a community of people making really great quality products, or doing resale of some really amazing things that you can't normally find. I tried to make sure there wasn't a lot of competition in the store, and it was really important that people price their products so they can sell, that their packaging looked great, their display looked great. I really try to make it a place where people can be educated. We would talk to them about what the comments that their customers would leave for them, especially if it was something great. People would often come in and tell us how great the products were. And I'm like, great, the owner would love to know that. The maker would really love to know that. And if I had a question, or someone had a question, sometimes I can just text the person and get the answer for the customer. And they just thought that was phenomenal. The community was just, I think it was, I don't know, probably was one of my favorite things about the store. And that's why I try to kept it open as long as I possibly could, because that was the one piece that was more important than anything else, was making sure that people of color had a place to sell their goods, and that people knew the goods were from people of color. So, and that's not something that's, that you can walk into like New Seasons or Whole Food and actually know what that maker looks like, or there's information about that maker, and that you're supporting, you're supporting a local a lot of times, but you just don't know. You might actually know that person, or someone knows that person that you're supporting.
Based on both your experience as a tenant, but then also just as someone who has, long time ties to just, good memories just going to Lloyd Center, what changes would you like to see in terms of revitalizing the mall?
Well, I think the track they were on a few years ago was going to be a really good one, by bringing the movie theater inside and having an entertainment place inside, like some place to bowl or play games, or maybe a sports bar, food carts. I mean, like I thought that build out was going to be phenomenal, because you can bring a lot of people and a lot of variety in. And I think that's what the mall really needs. It needs multiple types of entertainment for individuals to want to come to the mall, because the skating rink, ice skating rink has been there forever, but what else can people do other than just walk around? And, there's a few video games here and there, but, when you look around the city, the entertainment is huge for people, because we're tired of being stuck at home. We want to get out and go do something. But the mall, it's old. Like even my unit, we had to really clean when I moved into the new unit. I had to ask for floor cleaning. That wasn't part of the deal, but I had to insist on it, because it's just not something I could afford to do, and I didn't feel like I should be doing it when the previous tenant was the one who did the damage. But I'm like, I want to receive my retail space clean so I can move in. But the mall really needs, like, they need things like plumbing, and just some updating. When you go to Washington Square Mall, all the store signs are in lights and they're beautiful, and it's like, I would love to see that in this mall, where you have businesses owned by people of color, and the presentation of the storefront is just top notch. And then when you walk in, you have a really clean, wonderful space. But I just think they, need to put some money back into it and bring a lot more local business and entertainment into the mall, and food.
Mhm.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure when the last time you've been in Lloyd Center was. I was there a couple months ago. I know they had like a fire as well, but I was at the food court, and there was really like 4
Mhm.
things open. It was
It's
wild.
bad.
Similarly though, now that they've announced, Renaissance Group as sort of the new ownership, what questions would you have for this new ownership going forward in terms of, their plan?
My questions really would be based around the commercial leasing for the mall. I'm like, are you going to make the leasing fair for everyone? Because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't feel like my lease rate was fair. I would talk to other store owners, and their rates would be much lower than mine. You have to consider, you know, what that overhead is for the business. A mall is open 7 days a week, and when you're talking about small businesses, there's got to be some give and take for that. And then also maybe help build in more partnerships with, creating spaces where multiple owners can come into a space and help cut their costs down. Like, let's be really creative about this and making sure that the businesses reflect the community. A lot of times, that just never happens. It's like whoever can fill out that lease agreement and passes, the highest bar. Like, I've been in malls where when you lease a space, they'll come in and fix your toilet. And then I've been in a mall where there's like, you lease a space and everything past your front door is all your responsibility, no matter what breaks. If the air conditioning breaks, the sink gets plugged up or whatever, but it has to be reasonable for the person who's running the business, because they can't afford, a large overhead if something goes wrong. So I would like to see the mall really improve their infrastructure inside the mall, and then make sure they include the community when they're thinking about building things out, and maybe making smaller retail spaces that are more affordable, but also look very beautiful, So just some great combinations, because there's so many great examples of what communities look like on the streets in the Alberta areas, Mississippi, things like that. People are clamoring over those neighborhoods, but why is the mall empty? Because they're still very commercial and not very local. And so I would really like to see them focus on local small businesses and helping them grow.
Yeah, yeah. That's about what I have for questions. But is there anything else you'd like to add, either about Lloyd Center or, again, thoughts for new management or anything else?
Yeah, do some outreach. Like, really, don't just say we want to know your ideas, but show up and actually talk to people, and show up and bring in retailers and things like that from our cities, and make sure they are people of color and they represent the community, and have some real engagement. That's hardly, you hardly ever have real exchange or real engagement. Like, does anybody even know who manages the Lloyd Center right now? Because there's no engagement, and people really don't even know there's a children's clinic in the Lloyd Center. Who knows that? There's a lot of amazing things that mall actually holds that we don't have any idea about in the community unless you use the service. And so the Lloyd Center does have really great services, but I just don't always see them advertised, and I didn't know they were there until I was actually in the mall.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Bobbie, Stewart, thank you again for taking the time this afternoon, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, thank you, Bruce. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yep.